Mr. Alan, the Provincial Minister of Police Oversight and Community Safety, Western Cape Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Patakile. We also have from the SANDF, Colonel Mahanjana. I'm being reminded I must use my mic. I also have from the SANDF as co-chairs of the Grove Joints, Colonel Mahanjana, and we also have with us the provincial chair of the CPF board, Mrs. Francina Lucas. Thank you very much. Difficult as it is to work on a Sunday premiere, but I'm reminded somebody's saying to me that yesterday was your birthday and a belated one. We hope that you had a good time and probably you'll have something to celebrate with us after this. Without wasting time, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to outline the state of readiness in anticipation of the planned protest scheduled for tomorrow, Monday, the 20th of March. And without wasting time, I'm just going to hand over to the Premier just to do a few opening remarks before we get to the report of how ready we are for the planned protest. Thank you, Premier. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good day, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. I'm not going to say too much in the opening. What we really want to hear is from the Provincial Commissioner, General Patakile, and thank you very much, General, for enabling us to hold this open briefing. As you all know, I always like open transparency, and we must show that we are prepared. I think we have been doing a few things up until now. Also, obviously, Colonel Manjana, thank you very much, co-chair of the Prof Joints, and of course my colleague, Minister Allen, and thank you very much. It's always good to have the CPF leadership here as well, because of course this is about readiness and preparedness. I always like to be over-prepared, and we need to make sure that that is the case. I'm not going to say too much more. Commissioner, I'm going to hand over to you to just give us an update on where we are on readiness, and then maybe say a few things after that. General.
Thank you, Premier of Western Cape, Mr. Alan Wendy. The MEC for Police Oversight and Community Safety, Mr. Regan Allen. The co-chair, my co-chair, Colonel Mahanjana. All members of the Prof Joints that are here. Mrs. Francina Lucas, the provincial chair of the provincial board, members of the media, happy belated birthday, media. Today marks the 7 days of our planning and joint planning and operations that Ichokom has been opened in anticipation of the protest. You must remember there has been protest with Nehau before. We've been kept busy, and the students in the universities. Integrated law enforcement agents in the Western Cape under the auspices of the Prof Joints and operational intelligence are on high alert with strategic deployments and technical deployments in areas that are identified in this province. Integrated forces comprising of the SANDF members on standby, but now has fully been activated, fully deployed in the strategic points that we identified as key points. Various units of the SAPS, the Metro Police, law enforcement from all municipalities in the province, traffic services, both the municipal traffics and the provincial traffics, the contingents of private security companies that are operating within this province are operationally ready. They have been briefed and deployed, and their schedules in areas that they are working on. As part of the Provincial Joint Operational Plan, police officers are on foot, they will be on horseback. We are also on the air on vehicles, both visible and those that are on unmarked vehicles on the clandestine policing, at strategic points, and as well as to respond promptly and accordingly to any incident that has been reported or seen. We have also been using the CCTV cameras and other technologies within the Western Cape that are available. Now, a plea is made to organizers and participants of the planned actions to respect the rule of law. As law enforcement, we will not hesitate to take decisive actions against any person who breaks the law and infringe upon the rights of the others. Ladies and gentlemen, a dedicated contingent of detectives from the South African Police Service will be on hand to investigate all the reported incidents. An appeal to social media users are warned against posting and disseminating inflammatory content contained in videos and messages that seek to incite violence and spread falsehoods. Law enforcement officers will without hesitation invoke relevant pieces of legislation such as Section 14 of the Cybercrime Act and Section 18H capital letter of the Film and Publications Act in relation to inappropriate social media posts. In implementing the Prof Joint's operational plan, Community Policing Forum's members with neighborhood watches and patrollers will act as the force multipliers and bolster the deployment of forces on the ground. Now, an earnest plea is made to community leaders to encourage community members to reject being mobilized to partake in unlawful activities. We further community members to be active citizens, work with us and report wrongdoings and criminality. Community members, business owners, drivers of commuters and any other affected parties who find themselves adversely impacted by actions of the planned protest actions are advised to contact the following numbers for prompt and coordinated response. What we've done, we've coordinated all the response from the provincial government, the City of Cape Town, the police dedicated numbers, and also in the districts. But I will only read the three that is now for now, but the media statement will be circulated to you. The provincial government number, the 0860 142 142, and then our South African police at the POCC 0800 31 4444, as well as the City of Cape Town 107 or 021 480 7700. Then we have each district at the Garden Route, the Wineland, the Overberg, the West Coast, the Central Karoo, and the City of Cape Town, the dedicated numbers that will be circulated. Planning and situational assessment meetings with all road players are continuing on a regular basis to assess and look at integrated approach as coordinated response is necessary. In conclusion, the integrated law enforcement agencies under the auspices of the Prof Joints acknowledge and respect the rights of individuals to protest as it is after all enshrined in the Constitution of the country as the supreme law of the country. However, it is incumbent on the organizers and participants to protest within the parameters of the law and respecting the rule of law. Once there is a breach of the law, we as the law enforcement officers will have no choice but to act decisively. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, General Particular. I think I must now take the questions, and you'll probably hear from some of our panel members when questions are raised. Thank you, Avila. I see your hand is up. I'm noting you, but can I see which other hands I have for this round? I've noted you. Atule, you number 2. Okushle, number 3. And I think for now, let's do that. Please do not forget to do the usual. You introduce yourself, the media house that you're representing, and who you're posing the question to. Avila, we'll start with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Avila Mdila from ENCA. General.
May you use the mic, please? Just bring it closer to you. Mic, yes.
Oh, thanks. I guess this is for the net joints. How many, you mentioned various law enforcement agencies that will be on the ground. Do you have a number of how many you'll have on the day. I see the South African National Defence Forces here. Could they also maybe add their role that they'll be playing tomorrow in the national shutdown? And Premier, I understand on Friday you were granted a court interdict along the city, and the EFF suggests that even prior to that they had an agreement with the city that they would comply with the law. Don't you trust what they're saying in terms of the protests and it escalating into potential chaos?
Thank you, Atula. Atula?
Thank you, Atula Joga, SABC News. Since the permit cites that the protest needs to start at 11 a.m. At Sterling Street, so what happens then if it starts earlier? Because the EFF has called on its members to protest wherever they are, to start marching, and also the interdict has also prohibits them from blockading roads and stuff like that. So if you start finding protesters walking along the streets or just marching maybe peacefully along the streets, are you going to arrest them? Thank you.
Thank you, Atula. Ogosha?
Hi, Ogosha Shati from the Cape Times newspaper. This is from the Commissioner. I wanted to ask, the Commissioner spoke about strategic points. I know in the past when there was July riots, threats, there was a briefing and then the Commissioner was able to say this is what's going to happen, this is maybe the strategic points or the hotspots that we're suspecting. So I just want to know, in the Western Cape, where are these strategic points or where are the potential hotspots? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just check before I allow the panel to respond? Any other hands? I don't see any. Avue, you posed the question to the Premier, the Provincial Commissioner and the SANDF. All right. Maybe can we start that with Premier? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Avue. Yes, we got an interdict, and I absolutely agree. The EFF asked for permission to march from the East City to Parliament, and I think, as was said right up front, and I've been saying it all along, I respect our Constitution. I think I'm proud of our Constitution, and everyone in our country has the right to hear have their voice heard, the right to protest within the parameters of the law. And we didn't challenge that that march will be cancelled. The march is still, approved. The EFF is approved for a march. But what they are not approved for is what was coming out on social media, which was the intimidation, the threats, the call for shutting down our roads, for closure of businesses for the fear of being looted. That is totally unacceptable, and that was the cause for asking for the interdict, because we need to be clear that that right is absolutely granted, and I sincerely hope they take up their right as granted and they march and they have their voices heard and they make their speeches, etc. But what they cannot do is within the Constitution take rights away from other people. That is absolutely not on. That's why we are here today, to protect the citizens, the law-abiding citizens of our province, to make sure that they are able to go to work, to open their businesses. And that is critical for me. If we want to fight for economic freedom, then we must keep the economy open and allow jobs to be created. Closing down the economy and taking jobs away does not make any sense to me whatsoever. So that was the gist of getting the interdict in place. And of course, that is my call as well, to say, first of all, thank you very much to the Santakos of the world, to the Golden Arrows, to the businesses that have come out and say, yes, we're going to be open and we're going to trade because we're going to keep those jobs going. And I want to thank them for that. And I want to say to citizens in this province, please go about your normal day. That's why we've put the interdict in place. That's why we're in here today. And that's why between South African Police Services, the Joint Operations Command, our law enforcement, our neighbourhood watchers and our CPFs, and just general citizens, that we will continue being vigilant, and we will make sure that Monday is a normal Monday. And I think that's really critical. Monday must be a normal Monday.
Thank you, Premier.
I think the first question How many law enforcement? Certainly we got it adequate. We will not be going to numbers for security reasons. Now, the SNDF has already been deployed in the key strategic points. They are not on standby, and we got sufficient reserve that is ready for any action that we would need to post them anywhere else where there is a need. Right now, the key important is that strategic points are around the whole province. All of them are more important. They are all equally important. But what is important also is that the roads, they are actually essential infrastructure for us to have the movement, that everybody can move freely. As we said, we will protect those who are protesting and those who are not protesting. So that is our key role in this plan. What to let? If they're starting at 11 o'clock, that you must remember that's a notice that they've given to the municipality, and that was agreed upon. But it does not mean that if they start 8 or 2 march, just separate the two. The protest march that has been agreed upon, where they served notices, which we are aware of, it's the city of Cape Town. Also, we've been informed that Central Carolina Beaufort West, there will be also, because the notice was served and the Section 4 meeting set and they agreed on the route. But the law as it stands, and also the court decision order, constitutional court decision, that actually you do not need to ask or to get permit to protest or march. In any fact, it was never a permit, it was a notice that you give to the municipality that I will be marching, but I want to have these rules, want to agree. But in the absence of that Section 4 meeting, the law also gives us powers to guide the march. Whether it's a march or protest, if we then have to guide that march, and then if you are not adhering to the directions and guidance that we give you, then you're breaking the law. That's where then we start enforcing the law as provided in the Constitution and in that legislation. So we're not going to be arresting them if there any person who's marching before, because we will have to guide them. They will have now, the powers will be with us, the police, to guide them which way they must direct, which way and how they should be going in that direction. In the absence of that, if then they disregard, then we act because now they will be breaking the law. I hope I've answered that question. Strategic point, Okuhle, hotspots, they are all provinces hotspot. We planned, but of course there will be places that we will be more enhanced, which are for security reasons. We're not going to be diverging now, but all strategic installations, that includes the parliament, both parliaments, the national parliament, the legislature, the city of Cape Town, City Hall, where currently the legislature is housed. That was part of the important points that we have to look at. Of course, we can't leave the airport open as one of those that we've got to ensure that free flow of movement of people is safe and is done. We protect that. Where there is an incident of closing of that, we've got to go and remove and ensure that the free flow is done. We have that in place. I think that was the last question.
Yes, thank you, General.
The role of the SNDF.
No, I've already mentioned. I've said the SAPS, they are supporting role, the SAPS. They are supporting, that's why we said we have reserves that we could utilize everywhere where there's a need.
So will they be on the ground as well, together with the police? So what's going to be there? Will they be boots on the ground from the SAPS?
No, what I've said already, I said they are deployed now at strategic points. Such if you go to the airport right now, you will see that there are around any other strategic points that are not mentioned. They are already on the ground, but they are on the supporting role of the South African Police Service.
Thank you, Trevor. Let me see any other hands or follow up. Okay, before I come to you, Avio, I can't see you at all. Is your hand up? All right. Okay. All right, I'll start with Arthur in front. I'll come to you, Avio. Atule, any other hand? I don't want to close anybody out. Okay, let's go in that order. Arthur, I'll start with you.
Arthur from Hartigan. Commissioner, just a clarity from the question that was asked by Avi. What do you mean say their role will be supporting the SAPS? Are they going to make arrests? Can you just get a clarity on their role? A second question, Commissioner, I just want to find out what happens, God forbid, that there's no looting that happens tomorrow.
Sorry?
Maybe, I'm asking a question, maybe it happens that there's going to be a looting, but I don't want that to happen. Maybe a business person wants to protect his or her business. Would you encourage him or her maybe to take action against those who are going to be looting?
Is that all, Arthur?
Thank you.
Thank you. Avio?
Mine is just a follow-up on Atule's question around the times, where they said that the march will start at a certain place at 11 o'clock. Well, I don't think I heard properly. Maybe a clarity in terms of what happens if they start, for example, at 8 o'clock in Khayelitsha.
All right.
And mine is a follow-up to Avio's question on SANTF. We had reports that there must be a procedure that must be followed before SANTF soldiers can be deployed. Can you maybe take us through that from the SANTF to what permits soldiers to be deployed on the ground, and also on this particular occasion, what is the cause for SANTF to be on the ground? And if you wanted to add something.
All right. Thank you. Okuhle.
Okay. Also, I just wanted to ask, in the past we've seen, okay, I'll reference again the July unrest, where there was, the deployment of SANDF and, and all that. And then we saw that there were reports of police brutality or SANDF using force. How is that maybe going to be prevented, where we won't see reports of civilians who maybe were killed or were caught in the crossfire? Thank you.
Okay. Any other person? Because I'm going to close. Oh, there's someone. No, sorry. It's not a hand. I thought it was a hand at the back. All right. General, can we start with Arthur's question? A scenario. Business person who takes action
To protect his property.
to protect property.
When I started to say security companies were protecting those businesses and other areas, they are already been briefed. Now, legally speaking, in law, a person, there is what we call private defense, which has got certain limits that you have to do to ward off the attack. It must not be more than what is necessary to ward off the attack. But I don't foresee, because we will be around also. That's why we want the prompt reporting in these numbers, dedicated numbers, so that we are around. But we also have security companies. There will be few businesses who don't have security companies that are guarding them. But in that case, we urge people to report to the police immediately. But of course, you have got one way to ward off, is to close the shop at the time if you have to, or whatever business you have, so that it's not damaged until the police arrive to disperse that. So, but there is an inherent duty as a private person to protect your property. There is an inherent duty on yourself, but it must not be, must not exceed. Must be able to proportionally to ward off the attack, not more than that. Now, then the courts will then go and say whether it was necessary, it was over or not. That's another story. But we're here to ensure that we respond promptly to any of those. We are urging the communities and businesses to report immediately. That's why we're also warning those who are using social media to not to use inflammatory and false alarms, because we want to be focused to the right course. But we want to say, in the CBDs and the businesses where in the townships, anywhere we are in those areas, in this shopping centers and shopping malls, and of course then other businesses that are not in shopping malls, we are able to respond because they are within the area where we deployed. And I hope that what happens to
clarity with regards to times. Is it the march versus the protest? I couldn't get that clearly.
Yeah, just the times where they've been granted, for example, at 11 o'clock they start at this position. What happens when they start earlier, let's say at 8 o'clock at a different location?
but that's not the same march, because the same march that you have to the city of Cape Town, there are points that we agreed on. It does not mean that there can be no other marches somewhere by the same, but in the city of Cape Town, where we know that there is an agreement in terms of that Section 4 meeting, that the march will be start at 11, and the area that we identified that from point A to the last point, that's where we are. But if then there is a march in Kailicha or Nyanga, then we have to guide that march our own. That's outside the area where it was said the march would be. Then it falls within the powers of the police to guide the march, how they should march and where they should march, how they should go. So if then anyone in that march is now not obeying the instructions of the police because it's outside the gathering, that agreement, so then it will be breaking the law. That's depending on what if we say take this direction left and then you take the direction left, the right, then you are actually not obeying the instructions that we've given, the guidance that we'll be giving you. Then you will have to act in that situation. Depending on what actions we will be doing, many options are available. But firstly, we talk, we negotiate, we talk, and then up to the point where then we've got to ensure that we've got to take drastic actions. Now, Atule,
Procedure for deployment of SANDF members.
the NATS joints, after assessing the whole country, the net joints, the whole situation in the country, driven by a number of issues that are looked at, has then approached the SNDF to be part of the deployment in support of the South African Police Service. Now, if you're asking now, will they be effecting arrest? In most of the time, the SNDF takes the backseat and protect those who are effecting the arrest. But in the absence, if that person who is be effecting arrest and is disabled, then of course, that's where they come in to protect it. So the role that the SNDF is a supporting role, a protecting role that protects those who have to effect that arrest. In the absence of that, then they are also most peace officers in any event. But we don't foresee that there will be a situation where the SNDF, they are posted alone. There will be police officers in that area as they are playing the supporting role.
Brutality in the event of brutality against SANDF and SAPS.
We learn from the past. Every time we plan, we're looking at what worked before, what didn't work before. Police brutality and SNDF brutality, we will ensure that at least the minimum is kept to a minimum if there would be any. Brutality, I don't know what you mean by it, but if you are resisting the arrest, I've got to use the minimum force to ensure that you subject yourself to the arrest. So if you call that brutality, I wouldn't know. But we would ensure that we keep that to a minimum as a last resort. We start negotiating with you, especially in the protests, we negotiate with you We've got trained POP members, which has also now currently trained 4,000 countrywide and 400 more in this Western Cape on POP. The new students they've gone through. We allow them to do that before we can ask for any other person. It's not the brutality. It's not. We've got so many things. We got water cannons. We got tear smoke. We got rubber bullets. There's quite a lot of things. If you don't feel the water, then you will feel the rubber bullet. So.
Thank you, General. Can I, before I see if there are no other hands, give over to the provincial chairperson of the CPF board, just to say a few words on behalf of the CPF, and from there I'll move to MEC and the Premier. Then we'll take the last few questions before we close off.
Thank you, Program Director. As the community police forums, our CPFs, our community in blue volunteers, we are ready to work with police to ensure that our communities are safe, that there are no chaos, there are no anarchy. We are also encouraging our members, which is the CPF Neighborhood Watch Community in Bloem, to fulfill their role in monitoring and reporting any acts of illegality. We will be deployed to areas within our communities as directed by the SAPS to ensure that people are not looting, to ensure that there is no destruction of property and infrastructure, because at the end of the day, it is the facilities that belongs to the community, and it is the facilities that we want to use as community members even after tomorrow. We are also encouraging our members not to confront, not to try to stop any protester, but to observe and to report. And I want to emphasize that we are not there to do the police job or any law enforcement agency's job. Ours is just to make sure our communities are peaceful, are safe, and we're doing that by working with the police. We're doing that by reporting incidents to the police. So our members, our volunteers are ready. They know what to do. They also know what not to do, because at the end of the day, we are all subjected to the law. Whether you're a protester, whether you are a community member that wants to go about doing your daily activities, we all subjected to the law, and we will all abide by the law. So for us is that we want to see tomorrow, even after tomorrow, that our facilities stand, that our people don't lose their jobs, so that we can continue to benefit the facilities that we have in our communities.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Speaker.
Thank you so much, Brigadier. I think I want to be extremely clear in that it is well documented that threats have been made, threats of violence, of potential looting. As such, government needs to be ready. I feel that we are ready. We are ready to ensure that the integrated approach will ensure that our beautiful province is actually safeguarded. I am deeply thankful to all our Neighbourhood Watch members, to the CPFs, SAPs, law enforcement, traffic, disaster management from local government, all playing a vital role towards ensuring that these threats that have been made is actually not going to take place. And if we consider the threats that have been made, the interdict is also very clear, and we can actually link the amount of tires that we have taken over the last 72 hours, which amounts currently, the latest figure I have is 4,041 tires at key points, at intersections, which could have been used in order to bring certain roads to a standstill, and that we had to do in a proactive way with the CPF and neighborhood watches and SAPs all ultimately helped to ensure that expenses will not be spent on cleaning up when those tires are burnt, etc. We want to ensure that our residents are able to get to work, that they are able to supply and help their families, and any form of intimidation and violence will be met with a clear undertaking that you are not allowed to break the law, whether you are a member of a political party, whether you are even a member of a provincial parliament, or in the city of Cape Town, or potential public representatives as well. I think I just want to be extremely clear in that regard. And yesterday I informed the Premier as well that I have visited the Provincial Operations Command Centre. And again, when you see that there is an integrated approach where all role players are active in order to ensure that there is a quick turnaround should deployment be sent to a specific area, etc. So at this time I feel satisfied, and we trust that we would be able to ensure that we keep our beautiful province safe.
Thank you very much. Premier, any closing remarks?
Everything. I'll just speak louder.
Whilst Arthur is moving the mics, I'm going to close. I don't see any further hands from the floor. I think the Premier's word will be the last. Thank you very much.
So, Program Director, that is...
No one can speak after you.
Whoa. I think it's all been said already. I'll just repeat. In everything we do, we need to make sure that we are prepared. We have had threats, and we have dealt with those threats, number one, through a court interdict, and number two, General, thank you very much. Briefings during the week. Minister, thank you very much. Making sure that the team pulls it together. Obviously, all this comes together in the Joint Operations Command. And, I think I can say it no better than the words of Mrs. Lucas, who says that, we don't want our citizens taking the law into their own hands. That says it all. Don't take the law into your own hands. Report. And I think General Patakile has put out the contact numbers, and of course we will make sure that our CPFs and law and neighbourhood watchers have got those numbers, but we also call on our citizens. Report. Let's get those reports in so that we can deal with any issue that raises its head, because I want it to be a normal Monday. We must be able to continue with work. We must be able to continue with movement as citizens, free citizens within our democracy here in the Western Cape. But again, we'd rather you are the eyes and ears. Don't spread fake news. Rather, again, just report that in to the system wherever you are. We've also made our call center available from early hours already this weekend. So anybody can report to that call center. We've also made our service at westerncape.gov.za email address available, so people can upload any issue that they want to report. Specifically, if we want to use that detail at a later stage in a court action, etc. That's why we went and got the court interdict. But really, as I said in the beginning, let's be over prepared. I want to start off by saying, General Patakile, thank you to you, your co-chair, the Joint Operations Command, the SAPs, the POPs, but then also, Minister, through you to all of our municipalities, to the Metro Police, law enforcement, to the citizens. Thank you. We need to make sure that we are ready, but we also need to make sure that we continue with not being held hostage to comments and threats made by a political party. That cannot be, not within our constitution, not here. So please have a normal Monday. And to the protesters, please abide by the rules of the law and our constitution in this great country and in this great province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Premier, and that brings the media briefing to an